Hello people, it's Thor Die-Cow. It's this week on Blu-ray and DVD. We've got 6 great titles to tell you about today, and we begin with one of the best movies of 2014, up for 9 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and it might just take the big top prize on Sunday at the Oscars. We're talking, of course, about Iñárritu's Birdman, starring Michael Keaton, and he could be poised to take Best Actor in this one. Have a look at the cinematic masterpiece that is Birdman.
We had it all. You were a movie star, remember?
Who was this guy?
He used to be Birdman.
I like that poster.
You wrote this adaptation?
I did, yeah.
And you're directing and starring in your adaptation. That's ambitious.
Are you afraid people will say you're doing this play to battle the impression that you're a washed-up comic strip character?
Absolutely not. That's why 20 years ago I said no to Birdman 4.
And there you go. Just gives you a great example of the ensemble cast that is so commanding in this movie. Edward Norton, Zach Galifianakis, Naomi Watts, and Iñárritu's decision to basically, stylistically shoot this as all one continuous shot. Just an incredible technical feat, and that comes right down to the editing, the cinematography, the musical score, which a lot of the music was done sort of in camera live. It's a great story that parallels Michael Keaton's own life in many ways, because he plays this, movie star who's famous for portraying an iconic superhero, much like he played Batman in the 90s, struggling to mount a Broadway play. And in the days leading up to opening night, he's battling his ego, attempts to recover his family, reuniting with his estranged daughter, played wonderfully by Emma Stone there as well, and just kind of coming to terms with where he is in his career and his life itself. Winner of 2 Golden Globe Awards, including Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy and Best Screenplay. One of the most outstanding films of 2014. Don't miss it. Loaded with bonus features on the Blu-ray as well. Birdman is a true triumph, and it remains to be seen whether Keaton will beat out Eddie Redmayne at the Oscars on Sunday. It was, I think, a career achievement for Keaton. Say what you will about comparing the two, and who knows? It's coming down to Birdman or Boyhood for Best Picture. If this does get it, it is definitely worthy, because it is a very special film and will be talked about for years to come. A true classic to come out of 2014, Iñárritu's Birdman, and it was so refreshing to see this director, who normally tackles gritty dramas, to do a comedy. And the results were brilliant. All right, people, moving right along. We got a couple of comedies to tell you about, and this one, everyone in the world, I'm sure by now, has heard of this. The Interview, the much maligned release from Sony Pictures. The Blu-ray's out now, the Freedom Edition, and you've got Seth Rogen and James Franco. They run a talk show together. They're trying to go legit, and they snag an exclusive interview with, you guessed it, Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea. Get a look.
Every night, millions of people watch our show.
Aaron, look at this.
Kim Jong-un wants to do an interview with Dave Skylark?
He's a fan.
Okay, let's do it.
We're going to North Korea! Hello, North Korea!
Preceding the interview, you will shake Kim's hand with a fatal dose of poison. It is critical that you touch nothing.
I think there's a 0% chance of this working.
Is it on my ass? I sat on it.
There you go. Lizzie Gablin doing a great job there as this covert CIA agent. And Randall Park, who you can see now in the show Fresh Off the Boat, is an absolute scene stealer in this movie as Kim Jong-un. This is really his breakout role. Not all the jokes work. It's obviously got a lot of that crass, crude humor that we've come to expect from the team behind Pineapple Express, Superbad, This Is the End, and that kind of thing. But it's actually a very good sort of satirical look at geopolitical relations, media, journalism, all that kind of stuff. And Seth Rogen and James Franco bounce off each other so well together. I liked the interview. I didn't love it. I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was kind of right in between. And I certainly don't think it was worth all the controversial hype, because really, it's not all that bad when it comes, at the end of the day, in terms of how it portrays North Korea and things like that. There are some genuinely very funny moments in it, and the sort of bromance that blossoms between the leader of North Korea and James Franco. Very funny stuff. The Freedom Edition, incidentally, comes with 90 minutes of bonus feature content, 14 deleted scenes, multiple behind-the-scenes featurettes, and a 7-minute blooper reel. There you go, the interview. And Vancouver showcased very nicely in that film. Okay, another comedy legend of sorts. 2 guys reuniting after 20 years, Dumb and Dumber 2. Now, there were a lot of critics. People didn't think they could pull it off, but I have to say, Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels did a pretty impeccable job of going back to these characters and, you know what, giving you a fresh kind of road trip movie, an updated Dumb and Dumber. Get a look at this comedy sequel.
How you doing, buddy? Brought you your favorite candies. That's it, kid. Come on, come on, come on. Spit it out. God, yeah! Wait a minute. So you mean you have been faking for 20 years? And it was all for a gag?
Yep.
That's awesome!
There you go. Jeff Daniels had a little trouble sort of slipping back into the role. I thought he overdid it at times. Jim Carrey, though, was absolutely effortless. He stole the show. He was hilarious. And they've got a good cast in this one. Rob Riggle, Kathleen Turner's very funny, Laurie Holden from The Walking Dead, and Rachel Melvin is absolutely hilarious, best known probably for Days of Our Lives. The two go on a road trip. There's a case of there's a daughter maybe in the mix. I don't want to give too much away, but there's sort of a search for a long-lost family member that ensues. That's the Farrelly brothers, so you know what you're going to get. I mean, their humor may not be as fresh as some of their other films, like There's Something About Mary or Kingpin, but there were still some great gags in this movie, and it's buoyed nicely by the commitment of Carrey and Daniels to these two characters. It was just hard to take your eyes off the screen because they were so invested in these characters. The movie also has this sort of gritty, almost 90s feel to it, so they weren't trying to make this big, glossy, updated sequel. It felt very much in keeping with the vibe of the first one, and that's why I thought it was a worthy sequel. That scene there is pretty outrageous. We'll just cut it off right there for time. All right, next, Bill Murray is back in a very funny role, St. Vincent, and he plays a curmudgeonly neighbor, and a boy moves next door, and Melissa McCarthy is his mom. And she's got some childcare issues and has to seek Bill Murray out for help babysitting. And his heart kind of softens as he gets to know the little boy. And there's a nice little sweet story about Bill Murray and his wife in this one. So there's a little bit of drama, but mostly comedy. I wouldn't quite call it a dark comedy because Bill Murray always funny and outrageous, and he plays kind of a mean, nasty character in this one. Melissa McCarthy actually doesn't have to do the sort of shtick that she normally does in those physical roles. That was very nice to see. And Naomi Watts plays a prostitute, actually, who's very funny. She's one of the friends of Bill Murray in this one. So you got some good characters in it, a witty screenplay, a nice sort of breezy comedy that just has enough little poignancy sprinkled in to make it worth your while. So you can get St. Vincent now if you like. All right, now, we always love talking about great documentaries in this segment, and this is one of the best of last year, Life Itself, the story of famed Chicago Times film critic Roger Ebert. It's a heartwarming documentary about the life of Ebert from the director of Hoop Dreams and the executive producer behind Moneyball and Martin Scorsese. This movie recounts the inspiring and entertaining life of the renowned film critic and social commentator Roger Ebert, and the story gets personal, funny, very painful, and transcendent if you know what happened to him at the end of his life, and it's based on the best-selling memoir of the same name. Now, the filmmakers in this movie were granted unprecedented access to Roger and his wife during the final 4 months of his life. A groundbreaking, heartwarming, and just fascinating look at the life of an absolute legend when it comes to film, social commentary, and one of the great writers of the modern age for all that great work he did, and especially alongside Gene Siskel. So take a wonderful trip down memory lane with Life Itself, a very poignant documentary and one of the best of last year. And finally, guys, we may have saved the best for last. Game of Thrones Season 4. Get it now. I'm rewatching it as we speak. All Men Must Die. Recently earned 19 Emmy nominations, the most of any program on TV. The complete 4th season, loaded with extras, and there's comprehensive guides, illustrated histories, and Season 4, probably the best one so far. They just keep getting better. They keep ratcheting up the tension, the dramatic interplay. Don't get attached to too many people because there are a lot of deaths in this season, and the stakes just get higher and higher. I love where they're going with this show. Arguably the best on television. Get it now and collect the Blu-rays because really the packaging is gorgeous. You got to see it on high def, and I guarantee years down the road you're going to be popping these seasons in and rewatching them once again. There you have it, guys. A loaded mixed bag for this week on Blu-ray and DVD. I'm Thor Diecow. Don't forget you can check me out on Twitter at Thor Diecow. If you have a title you want me to talk about, let me know. We'll see you next week on breakfasttelevision.ca.